That was the first of several tape changes, short breaks as the technicians fed the tape to us and the other networks today. So we're taking a brief break here. More of the president's testimony in a moment. But first, a reminder that you can watch and listen to the president's grand jury testimony on our website. You can find us on the internet at www.cspan.org. To watch it, click on to Watch and Listen Now, or you can read portions of the transcript and the entire 3,000-page referral from the Independent Counsel. Again, www.cspan.org will get you lots more information on this story. Now back to more of the president from August 17th. This portion runs about an hour and 20 minutes. In a moment, more of the president's grand jury testimony. There's about 2 hours and 40 minutes left. First, a reminder that at midnight Eastern Time, right after the tape, we're going to take more of your phone calls. We'll also see how different parts of the world are reacting to this story with several international newscasts. And if you'd like to read parts of the president's testimony, you can do that by accessing our webpage at www.cspan.org. You can also watch the videotape testimony by clicking on Watch and Listen. Also tonight on our companion network, C-SPAN 2, right now it's live coverage of a town hall meeting taking place in Provo, Utah. Republican Congressman Chris Cannon is discussing the president's case with his constituents. Mr. Cannon is a freshman and a member of the House Judiciary Committee. That event is happening right now on C-SPAN 2 between now and 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Now it's back to the testimony of the president, videotaped August 17th in the White House map room. Independent counsel Kenneth Starr and his deputies continue now to question the president. Again, about 2 hours and 40 minutes remaining, and at midnight Eastern Time, more of your phone calls. The president's testimony continues in a moment, just under 2 hours remaining now from August 17th. At midnight Eastern Time, we'll open the phones for more of your reaction. Also tonight, freshman Republican Congressman Chris Cannon, a member of the House Judiciary Committee, is meeting with his constituents in Provo, Utah tonight to talk about the president's case. You can watch that live right now if you'd like over on C-SPAN 2. It's scheduled to run for about another 45 minutes or so. And a reminder about our morning program. The Washington Journal starts up 7 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow. We're going to begin with about 2 hours and 15 minutes of open phones. More of your thoughts on this story regarding the President of the United States. We will also be talking with Jim Norman. He is polling editor at USA Today. Again, the Washington Journal starts tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 a.m. Pacific. Now it's back to tape coverage at the White House map room. Just over an hour left now of the president's grand jury testimony from August 17th here in Washington at the White House. At about midnight Eastern Time, we'll open the phone lines to get your reaction to all of this. And a reminder that you can watch and listen to the president's grand jury testimony on our website, or you can read the text. You can find us on the internet at www.cspan.org. To watch it, just click on Watch and Listen Now, or you can read portions of the transcript and the entire 3,000-page referral from the Independent Counsel. You're watching C-SPAN, a public service offered by America's cable television industry. We're going to return now to the president's final hour of testimony. And we'll continue with the president's grand jury testimony in a moment after the tape at midnight Eastern Time. We'll take your phone calls, get your reaction to today's events. We'll also see how different parts of the world are reacting to the investigation of the president with several international newscasts from France, Germany, and Canada. And a reminder that tomorrow morning on C-SPAN's Washington Journal, USA Today's polling editor, Jim Norman, will be our guest. But before that, we'll have about 2¼ hours of open phone lines to get your thoughts on the president's testimony. The Washington Journal starts at 7 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. And one other reminder, if you'd like to read parts of the president's testimony, you can do that by accessing our webpage at www.cspan.org. You can also watch the videotaped testimony in real time by clicking on Watch and Listen. Again, the C-SPAN website, www.cspan.org. Now back to the President's testimony. We have about 40 minutes left. This was the final tape change today as technicians at the Capitol fed the testimony to the television networks, including C-SPAN. Just about 15 minutes to go now in the videotape of the President's August 17th grand jury testimony. Just after midnight Eastern Time, we're going to get your reaction, your calls on anything you've seen or heard today from the President. You'll see the phone numbers on the bottom of the screen there. We'll leave them there for just a second or two. We'll also see this evening how different parts of the world are reacting to the investigation of the President. We have several newscasts arranged for you from France, Germany, and from Canada. A reminder again that you can watch and listen to the President's grand jury testimony on our website, or you can read it. You can find us on the internet at www.cspan.org. To watch it, just click on to Watch and Listen Now, where you can read portions of the transcript and the entire 3,000-page referral from the Independent Counsel. You're watching C-SPAN, which was created and funded by the cable television industry across America and offered to you as a public service. Now the final portion of the President's testimony from the White House. So that's the entire 4-hour testimony President Clinton provided to the grand jury on August 17th at the Map Room at the White House. We're going to replay this one more time this evening at 2 a.m. Eastern Time if you want to stay up and watch part of it, or set your VCR, 2 a.m. Eastern Time. In the meantime, we have 2 hours of live programming here for you. We're going to take your phone calls. You can see the numbers on the bottom of the screen there. If you are a liberal, you can call 202-624-1111. Conservatives, 624-1115, and moderates can call 202-737-6734. Also, during this 2-hour period, we will hear from some members of the U.S. Senate. We'll get you some newscasts from Germany, Britain, France, and Canada, and we'll take a look around the websites of newspapers around the country to see how they're playing this story today. So all that in the next 2 hours. We hope you'll call in. We're going to move on first to Orlando, Florida, on the Liberal line. Good evening. All right, a couple more calls before we go to tape. We do want to remind you about the C-SPAN website. You can watch and listen to the President's grand jury testimony on our website, or you can read it. Find us on the internet at www.cspan.org. To watch that video, you can click on to Watch and Listen Now, or you can read portions of the transcript and the entire referral from the Independent Counsel, some 3,000 plus pages. www.cspan.org is our website. And a reminder about tomorrow's Washington Journal. We're going to talk with Jim Norman tomorrow morning. He is polling editor for USA Today, so you can ask him your questions about how polling is done here in America. The program starts at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, Mr. Norman's going to be on the back end of that program because we're going to start the program with about 2 hours, a little bit more than 2 hours of open phones. Again, more of your calls. And then Jim Norman about 9:15 or so. The Journal itself, again, starts at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Moving on to a couple more of your calls. Decatur, Illinois. All right, thank you for calling in. Magnolia, Arkansas. And we want to thank all of our callers for the past 20 minutes. More of your calls in about 10 minutes or so. But first, the news from Germany. We have about 10 minutes of a newscast tonight from Deutsche Welle. That's Germany's international public broadcasting station. Here's a look at how that network covered the President's testimony today.
Here is Deutsche Welle TV's News Journal.
Hello and welcome to DW TV's News Journal. I'm Samira Ahmed. The headlines.
Deutsche Welle comes to us from Germany. It's the international public broadcasting station there. We have a couple minutes for calls here, about 10 minutes of calls. We're also going to take a look at some newspaper headlines from around the country as they appear on the internet. Hannahstown, Pennsylvania, you're on the Liberal line. Thanks for calling. All right, going to move on now. get some more of your calls a little bit later, but first, we have about a half an hour from the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. They have a program called Newsnight, sort of a Nightline type program. We're going to hear from Eleanor Clift from Newsweek and author Ann Coulter, who were guests on this program, and here it is, about a half an hour. That was the Newsnight program from the British Broadcasting Corporation. We'll have some newscasts later from France and from Canada. And we have about 40 minutes left of live programming, more of your phone calls, and then we're going to replay the President's testimony at about 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Phone numbers on the bottom of the screen. Again, liberals can call 202-624-1111. Conservatives, 624-1115, and moderates, 202-737-6734. Right back to your calls. Goose Creek, South Carolina, on the Liberal line. Thank you. More of your phone calls in a couple of minutes. And if you don't get a chance to get in tonight, there's plenty of opportunity tomorrow morning in the Washington Journal. Going to start the program at 7 o'clock right with your phone calls. 2 hours and 15 minutes of open phones on this story or another issue if you'd like to talk about it. And then the back end of that program, the last 45 minutes, we're going to meet Jim Norman. He is polling editor for USA Today. So the Washington Journal starts 7 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. Once again, we're going to have one more phone segment this evening and then get back to the President's grand jury testimony at 2 a.m. Eastern Time. But for now, a little bit more of the international perspective on things. France 2 television now, about a 10-minute portion of their newscast with subtitles. And more of your phone calls now, and then we're going to replay the President's testimony in about 20 minutes at 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Killeen, Texas, thanks for hanging on. You're on the moderate line. Appreciate your time as well. Thanks to everybody for calling in this evening and throughout the day, ever since the tapes were first aired here on C-SPAN. We'll give you another chance tomorrow morning on the Washington Journal at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll spend the rest of this hour here before the replay of the President with one more international newscast, the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation newscast out of Toronto as they focus on this story.
The National with Terence McKenna and Peter Mansbridge.
And if you'd like some more information on the President's testimony and the investigation of the independent counsel, you can go to the C-SPAN website, www.cspan.org. You can find the President's complete testimony in real audio and real video. You can read the text of the testimony. You can read Ken Starr's referral to the U.S. House and various other supporting materials. You can also find out more about the House Judiciary Committee and procedures for impeachment in Congress. That's at www.cspan.org. One more reminder about tomorrow's Washington Journal program. The program starts at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. We will have a full 2¼ hours of your phone calls, straight open phones for 2¼ hours tomorrow, to be followed by Jim Norman, who is polling editor for USA Today. The show starts at 7 a.m. Eastern Time, 4 o'clock Pacific, here on C-SPAN. Now, another replay of the entire version of the President's testimony, 4 hours of the deposition given at the White House on August 17th before Ken Starr and his deputy prosecutors. The President discussing his relationship with Monica Lewinsky.